Hello, welcome to this Death Series playlist. And today's video, we already talked about quantum immortality. When we die, reincarnation is not being reborn in another century or years later, but we go back and we live the same life over and over and over again through all different possibilities that have been created for us. However, we do have people with near-death experiences or even people who seem to remember past lives. So how can that be if it is actually really more like quantum immortality, reliving the same life over and over and over again? Then how can we have these near-death experiences that show that there is something else out there, maybe like heaven or even purgatory or hell or meeting deities or even the memories of past lives? Well, to me, that is all part of the matrix of the program. Remember, all different scenarios have been created and we live through all of them. And I believe that there is this timeline that already has been created where we do remember things from a past life, even though it may be not real. Even though you can then still find out that that thing that person remembers actually does exist. I've once read about a young Indian boy who claimed he was reborn and that he remembered his past life and everything he said was true. You know, he remembered the names of his back then brothers and they had a radio store and he remembered where exactly everything stood. He had access to all of the information. But how can we explain that if we say, well, past lives are not real, like we believed prior to that, you know, our concept of reincarnation? Well, first of all of the information about every person is stored somewhere in the matrix, or spiritual people say in the Akashic records. So I believe that boy, he was able to pull information, very precise information from the Akashic records that were then 100% true. But I believe that that is still part of his programming, of his quantum immortality, that in different times he is making that experience of remembering a past life and having real information that could be proved as right. But also, as Neil Donald Walsh said in Conversations with God, there is only one soul ultimately. Even though quantum immortality is, let's say, me as Janine making the same life over and over again, even though in maybe some timelines I do have a different name, because you know, sometimes parents decide between 2 or 3 names. But even though I believe that I make all of the experiences as, let's say, Janine, or the person I am, even though that can, of course, differ greatly from different timelines, I'm just one spark, one tiny part of existence of this greater consciousness. So there are other sparks of consciousness that make their own experiences, of course. Some hundreds of years back, some thousands of years back, some in the future, but all is created in the now. There is no real time. It already is created, the entire thing. So I believe when we connect to past lives, and I have done that as well. I mean, I am a hypnotherapist and I have done the regression and led people to past lives and myself as well. So I do have that. What I believe is that we take information from another stream of consciousness that is in vibrations very similar to ours, and then we draw out information. But also that is something that always has been created, because creation is finished. Remember, we never create anything. We're just experiencing what already has been created. Does that make sense? So I don't believe that that boy actually was the other man in a past life. I believe the other guy did exist. It's another stream of consciousness, or does exist, not did exist. And there is this connection because, again, we are all connected and there is thought transmission. We do have our quantum bubble, and I believe in his hologram, that young boy somehow, I don't want to say created, chose the experience of remembering things from another stream of consciousness that then could be proved as true. And also, of course, his parents chose to make that experience. Not consciously chose, but subconsciously. So I believe that that was part of the program in the beginning. And also I believe when we die, maybe we make the experience of dying. And in those videos I have given you before, you know, those stories, usually there is like jumping back in time a little bit before the incident happened where that person died, or jumping a little bit forward in time and that incident didn't happen. But maybe for some people the experience does go a little bit further, you know, just not that and jumping back, but also maybe they experience transitioning to the other world, the out of the physical world, you could say, and then jumping back and going back to 20, maybe, as Neville Goddard said. So I believe that, yeah, those near-death experiences or the experience of dying may be real somewhat, absolutely, but still we are absolutely immortal, which also means we don't ever have to fear dying ever again, because if we die, we now know that it's not the end. We just either jump back a little bit, or maybe we jump back to another split of the universe, you know, when we went down path A and now we get to experience path B. So we actually cannot die. And also everybody we experience dying, they're just gone from our experience, but they're still very much in existence and being reborn as themselves in the now. And maybe right now they're making the experience that you made with them all over again. So isn't that kind of like very comforting? So yeah, I believe that when we die, maybe we experience a little bit of the transition before we then jump back and live our life over again. And the more, of course, we awaken, the more we are getting to experience the lighter, the more conscious and the more powerful versions, where we feel, at least we feel like we can manifest. But you know, I'm actually not certain if we do really jump timelines, or if you always stay on one timeline, and that one life, it has always been written in that way that we experience a timeline jump that is not real, but it is still part of the program. For example, we want to experience, let's say, clear skin, and then all of a sudden we think we changed to a timeline where we had clear skin, but it is the same timeline, and it is just the experience that feels like we did jump. I don't know. What do you think about it? Check out the entire Death series playlist. I do see you there. Check out my other manifesting videos, and of course my subliminals and affirmation tracks, and I do see you there on personal coaching. Until then, I wish you all the best now. Bye bye. If you want to book your own custom-made affirmation or subliminal, you will find my contact information in the description box below.